how frustrating was it for you to sit on the sidelines, be talked about, but not be able to talk?
That doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
You're talking about me like I'm not sweating anybody like that. But I was very flattered that, because if you go off the air, you're not sure that the sports world would care, right? But people seem to care. I was like, oh, look at that. People are thinking about me. I was very flattered by it, to tell you the truth.
Max Kellerman has finally responded.
But so Stephen A, you're in a relationship with where you're doing a show together for how many years? 4?
5.
5 years.
To the mess that Stephen A has created.
I didn't love how he handled the aftermath of you leaving, where it's basically like, I told you the show would be better. I just thought, because I think you're really talented. Now, you and I have known each other for a while. I just didn't think that was the right way to handle it.
If you're doing a debate show and you're a competitive person,
yeah,
why would you want me as a partner? That's bad. You want to go 15 rounds every day with Muhammad Kellerman? That's just bad. It's embarrassing,
Where Kellerman is basically saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that he was out debating Smith, and Smith may have gotten tired of it.
I have an idea. This is what I want to put on TV. I want to spar Bud Crawford every day for 15 rounds, and I want everyone to see it. Eventually, you're going to say, I don't want to do that anymore. I think when he thought they're going to make me take a partner, then it was like, okay, well, I'd like it to be with that guy. And then when it was like, I don't need a partner. Look, I don't need a partner either.
No.
But I like having one because I find conversations more interesting than just talking into the wind.
I agree with this completely. As a reminder,
they said that I was upset that Max Kellerman, my former colleague at ESPN on First Take, I got upset because he's going to be calling the Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight in September. They looked at my face and said I was upset. Max Kellerman, I'm upset about Max Kellerman. I have nothing against Max Kellerman. I didn't want to work with him on First Take anymore. That's all. I didn't think we were good partners for a debate show. If we were doing boxing, if we were doing Sports Center or something like that, nothing. No problem. For a 2-hour daily debate show, I didn't think we worked any longer. That's all.
From awful announcing on numerous occasions, Smith has given us reason to believe he is not a fan of Max Kellerman's. He even admittedly decided Kellerman was not a fit alongside him on First Take back in 2022, citing chemistry issues. And Smith even went so far as to bluntly state he didn't like working with Max Kellerman. Surely, Kellerman is now happy to learn of Smith's approval as he prepares to get back behind the mic. On Joe Budden's podcast, Stephen A. Smith would say this.
I didn't like working with him, man. It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it. I thought the show was stale. I thought that we had flatlined when it came to the public at large, and I'm trying to win. But you weren't an athlete, and you weren't a journalist. And the absence of the two components left people wondering, why should we listen to you? Okay, well, you might have had that figured out on Sports Nation, or you might have had that figured out on another show. But on this show, if you looked at the content emanating in the social stratosphere, meaning YouTube and other components that you use to measure one's cachet, Q ratings, focus groups, all of these different things, it was like I was damn near doing the show by myself because we were oceans apart in terms of cachet. Well, how are you oceans apart from me if you sit right across from me?
And then on Dan Le Batard's show.
It was about the fact that a debate show requires certain things that I believed he did not bring to the table when it came to sitting opposite of me. Max Kellerman and I, as far as I was concerned, did not work for me. It was not a show that I wanted to be a part of for years to come.
You're getting the gist. This went on for years. Years. He would talk about Max Kellerman over and over and over again.
Whatever you feel about who you're working with and what the situation is, to me, a cardinal sin is betraying that on the air. You should always be thinking about making the show entertaining.
Right.
And I do think it reached the point on that show where it was like, come on, dude, we get the first priority is to make good TV. But he's a showman. Like he would, I never had to worry about when the little red light came on that it wouldn't be a show, but it would be like, you don't want to be undermined, you know?
Kellerman would then bring up a really interesting point to Bill Simmons on the nature of just hot takes in general. And the show he worked on for 5 years, ESPN's First Take.
The issue with that show is this. What is a hot take? A hot take is a counterintuitive conclusion that on TV, you're going to just state your conclusion. Stephen A has no hot takes. Stephen A almost never, I can't think of any counterintuitive conclusions that he ever reaches. That's not his job on the air. His job is to be the big reactor to a counterintuitive conclusion. Reactor. Just, he's there to hear the crazy conclusion that his partner has come to and actually be the everyman with a loud voice. Like, you are crazy, right? And do it theatrically. So there's a lot of pressure on his partner to come up with a counterintuitive conclusion about everything. So the difficulty with me on that show was it was a lot of work to keep digging until I said the thing that I believed that would also get a reaction.
See, this is fascinating to take in. Some of the comments on this video, by the way, the top comment even. Stephen A is going to respond tomorrow. Start off by taking a deep breath, say he has nothing bad to say about Max Kellerman, and then say bad stuff. Chef's kiss perfect. It's a reason why it's the top like comment. Another, I truly think Max was too smart for Stephen A. He was too logical. Look who is on with him now, LOL. As in Chris Mad Dog Russo. Lastly, Kellerman standing on business. Love to see it. What a champ. All right. Here's my takeaway. Max Kellerman is taking the high road here. And it would probably be wise to read between the lines on what he is saying. Me personally, how I interpret all this is Max Kellerman is way more of a stand-up guy than Stephen A. Smith will ever be in his lifetime. Maybe in his next lifetime, if you believe in that. Max was professional. He didn't dog Stephen A. with his words the way that Stephen A. has dogged Max Kellerman, even though he will say, excuse me, over and over again, I'm not trying to come off this way, or it's not that I don't like Max Kellerman, but, and then he would go into something else. Max quite literally said, you're going up against one of the greatest, because he views himself as one of the greatest. It would get boring after a while. He compared himself to two of the greatest boxers of all time. If not top 10, depending on your list, who are Terrence Bud Crawford and Muhammad Ali. Max is that confident in himself. What I think it came down to was ego. I think Stephen A. hated seeing Max Kellerman go not just to the left of him on the political unrest that we saw in 2020 and beyond, but it was also that Stephen A. Smith showed that on many social issues, he does not know as much. That's why there were so many times where Max was being applauded and Stephen A. was being shunned. Because he just was not aware or could not comprehend certain things that were happening and the political ramifications of them. Many point to the Terrell Owens moment. You could have it. I mean, yeah, I got under Stephen A.'s skin. Do I think that that was the leading reason why he wanted Max Kellerman to go? No, I don't. I think it was that Max showed how big of a fool Stephen A. is on Colin Kaepernick and on everything that happened post George Floyd. Which also shows you he might still be hurt about it, that he is now delving himself really face first into the political realm which he is also showing his behind on. Because in my view, he's being coached by a few notable right-wing figures, and the points obviously don't make sense. So I think it is great that Max Kellerman is back. I'm curious if this is the only time that he will talk about this. My guess is it will be sparingly because he still wants to work in sports. And on top of that, I think he sees this whole entire situation drastically different than how Stephen A. does. Stephen A. sees it as an opportunity, whereas Max sees it as something that happened and he's putting it in the rear view. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.